One, I'm going to call the meeting of the Canby Planning Commission to order Monday, December 28th, 2015. So we'll stand for an invocation and then the pledge. Lord, bless this gathering and help this commission in making wise and fair decisions. Keep all the participants and all the people in this meeting safe and coming and going home this evening. In your name, amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. I want to welcome everybody to the final meeting of the Canby Planning Commission for the year 2015, unless Brian sees fit to do it. Have another meeting, follow-up meeting tomorrow night, in which I won't be here, but he can call it. So I'm going to ask for any citizen input on non-agenda items. Seeing none. Minutes, there is a miscommunication on the minutes from the last Planning Commission meeting of December 14th, and they're not available, so we will bypass that. So we will move right into the public hearing, a request from Pioneer Property for a minor land partition to create 3 parcels from 2 existing parcels on M2 Heavy Industrial located at 175 and 185 Hazeldale Way. It's MLP 15-04. I'll read the script that we will be following. The matter presently before the hearing body requires a public hearing. All interested parties in attendance shall be heard on the matter. If you wish to testify on this matter, please be prepared to step forward to the microphone at the appropriate time. State your name, mailing address, and interest in the matter. For those people other than the applicant that are interested in testifying as either proponents or opponents, please sign in on the sheet or speak up when we call for testimony. For longer presentations, proponents and opponents may buy time from one another. In so doing, those either in favor or opposed may allocate their time to a spokesperson who will represent the entire group. You may be limited by time for your presentation. Generally, the applicant will have a total of 15 minutes to speak. The proponents will be given 5 minutes each, the opponents will be given 5 minutes each, and those thought to be neutral on the matter will be given 5 minutes each. The applicant will then have 10 minutes for a rebuttal. All questions must be directed through the chair. Any evidence to be considered must be submitted to the hearing body for public access and to become a part of the record. All written testimony received both for and against prior to the hearing shall be summarized by staff and presented briefly to the hearing body during the staff report. Testimony and evidence must be directed toward the applicable review criteria contained as indicated in the staff report, the comprehensive plan, or the applicable land use regulations which the person believes apply to the decision. Failure to raise an issue accompanied by statements or evidence sufficient to afford the decision maker and the parties an opportunity to respond to the issue may preclude appeal to the Land Use Board of Appeals based on that issue. Failure of the applicant to raise constitutional or other issues relating to proposed conditions of approval with sufficient specificity to allow the local government to respond to the issue may preclude an action for damages in circuit court. Everyone present is encouraged to testify, even if it is only to concur with previous testimony. At this time, I would ask that any member of the hearing body who has a conflict of interest to please indicate the nature and extent of the conflict and whether you intend to participate in or abstain from hearing the present matter. Okay. Also, if any member of the hearing body has had any ex parte contact with anyone prior to this hearing, including a visit to the site, please declare the nature and extent of such contact at this time. Okay. Does any member of the audience have any questions for any commissioner regarding conflict of interest or ex parte contact? Okay. Let's see. The public hearing will be conducted as follows. First, we're going to have the staff report. Then questions, if any, by the commissioners. And then we will open public hearing for testimony. The applicant not more than 15 minutes. Proponents not more than 5 minutes each. Opponents not more than 5 minutes each. Neutral not more than 5 minutes each. And then rebuttal by the applicant not more than 10 minutes. And then we will close public testimony. And if there are any questions by the hearing body, we'll take them do them at that time. Discussion and deliberation by us. No additional testimony unless specifically allowed by the chair. And then a decision shall be made by the hearing body at the close of the hearing, or the matter will be continued to a date certain in the future. This will be the only notice of that date you will receive. Does anyone have any questions about how we are going to proceed? Okay. Brian, let's make it all about you.
All right, thank you. This application is a minor land partition. It's located at 175-185 Hazeldale Way, about 383 feet east of Sequoia Parkway. It's on the south side. And this particular partition involves two existing parcels equal in size, and they're going to reconfigure so that it will result in three. The westernmost parcel is pretty much going to be divided into two in order to end up getting the three parcels that are proposed. The access to the parcel 2 that's would be towards the rear and all the parcels actually, not only by Hazeldale Way, but the new third parcel that's not fronting Hazeldale is by an existing 30-foot access easement that's serving the eastern property, the Pioneer Pump outdoor paved storage area right now. And then the parcel 2 that is otherwise landlocked, if not for that internal access easement, is currently mostly utilized as the Canby Transit Center parking lot for their buses. They lease a portion of the track that is proposed to be created right now. There's also a stormwater detention facility in that area that catches the runoff from that paved transit bus parking site. And if you've driven by the site, you'll notice from the Pioneer Parks lot that is completely paved, they also have a detention stormwater runoff facility up near Hazeldale as well that serves as a storm quality and storm control to keep runoff on their private site. In a partition, we always check to see that it's in conformance with the comprehensive plan, and most important, to make sure that it's in conformance with all the development regulations in our land development code zoning ordinance. And in our review of this, we found that it does meet all of the development standards in the M2 heavy industrial zone. It's also subject to the Canby Industrial Overlay Zone, but there are no actual development standards that apply to this partition because of the overlay zone. And there's no new roads being proposed since they already have that 30-foot wide paved access easement going down through the middle of the new three parcels. So there were no issues with driveway spacing or anything of that kind. Our only input that we got in written form was from the city engineer, who very clearly indicated that all necessarily public improvements are already in to serve all of these lots, including the one off of Hazeldale Way where the transit is leasing. The city already did extend some utilities down the western property boundary to get back to that lot in anticipation of possibly a future partition and possibly purchasing that lot in the future. But that's the long-term goals and the interest that the city has ongoing in this particular application. Is our hope that someday that might be a city-owned lot, and maybe we can build a transit center building so we don't have to continue to lease one. They're currently leasing a building that's just to the west of this lot. It's part of the Wilco retail center there. And so the employees from the transit center are currently walking across that property boundary over to their bus parking lot. They had mentioned, the transit director, that at some point in the future, she would like some consideration at least to having a sidewalk go internally along this access easement, so that if the eventuality of purchasing and building a transit building happens, someone from Hazeldale walking along the public sidewalk can actually come internally safely and access their transit building if that should happen in the future. Staff advised that we feel like that's an improvement that would be better addressed at a future time when there's a site and design review for a new building, if ever, on that particular lot. Especially since it's internal to the site and not an actual public improvement as such. Something that would be more appropriate for site and design review. The only real substantial condition that we made that isn't pretty much a standard one is because of the 30-foot wide paved access easement. We need to make sure that there's a shared easement and maintenance agreement for that, so that each lot owner that has access to that knows what their future responsibilities may or may not be with regards to maintaining that internal private road. And that would be shown, if approved, the implementation of all partitions or by a partition plat that gets recorded and filed of record at the county clerk's office, and they put all the necessary easements for both utilities and access on those plats, and either make a note or a separate instrument that would be filed that would explain the shared maintenance responsibilities for that easement. So we don't run into a problem when there's potholes and no one knows who's responsible to fix it. I think that's really the main things. There's even street trees already installed along the frontage on Hazeldale. It wasn't clear to staff at the time we were writing this exactly where the property boundary was in relation to those street trees. So we made a condition of approval, number 4, that's listed under section 5 of your staff report. Says a street tree easement 12 feet wide measured from the front property line shall be provided along Hazeldale Way street frontage and shall be designated on the partition plat unless the applicant can establish that the existing trees are planted within the public right-of-way. And we suspect that they actually are. We just weren't sure. And so we made that a condition and can easily go away if we don't need it the time they go ahead with their survey and do the partition plat. So staff does recommend approval of this minor partition to the Planning Commission for MLP 1504. And it's subject to the 7 conditions that are listed in the staff report. And they're all pretty standard except for the one that I mentioned. Are there any questions about this report?
So, do
Nope.
So, I've been here for 3 years now, so I've noticed there's a new word, new phraseology in here that I'd like some clarification on, and that's monumentation. So can you define that for me? I mean, because in the whole 3 years, I've never seen that word in...
Monuments are basically the survey pins that are required to be located at the corners of all lots that are created, whether they're residential or commercial.
Okay.
And so that's pretty much what it's referring to. And the county pretty much makes sure that that happens in their review of the partition plat before it's recorded.
Okay. That's the only question I had. Anybody else? Okay. So we will now move along to testimony. So we have the applicant here. Yes, sir. If you'll come up, state your name and address.
I'm Gerald Turner. My address is 658 Horst Place, The Villages, Florida. I think it's 32162 is the zip. And I'm one of the founders and members of Pioneer Properties. I also founded Pioneer Pump. And the minor petition that we're applying for, when we went to put the roadway in for access, there was already some utility in the way right on the property line, so we had to move the road slightly over to Lot 16, which is to the east, from Lot 15, which is to the west. And so we wanted to move that road, the property line, so it's right down the middle of the access road that runs almost all the way back to the end of the property. And then we're just going to go straight to the end of the property at that point. And we were approached by Canberra Transit when we were building our lot for Pioneer Pump that if we would have some interest in building a parking lot for the buses for the Canberra Transit. And we worked out an agreement with them, and we built in a price that was agreeable to everybody at that point in time on the lease, and they had several years to exercise that. And they did all of the improvements on the back property, so they're leasing it. We're actually not charging them anything until we get this approved. Hopefully we get it approved, and then they'll buy the land. And so that's about the gist of the story. And we also are hiring Roger Reif, and he's a local attorney, to draw up the required easements and the requirements for improvements, as wear and tear on the access road.
Okay. That's it?
That's it.
Any questions? Okay. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Any more testimony from proponents? Okay. Are there any opponents? Anybody that would consider themselves neutral? In that case, I'm going to guess that there's no rebuttal to the testimony here. So I'm going to close the public testimony. Are there any questions from anybody here of staff or the report? This must be the post-holiday fruitcake hangover. So we will now move to discussion and deliberation by the body. Any thoughts? Any input from? Okay, Larry. Okay, you guys are easy. So we'll make a decision at this time. We will entertain a motion to approve minor partition MLP 15-04.
I make a motion to approve MLP 15-04 as Planning Commission has written.
With the partition conditions,
Yeah.
the 7?
Right.
Okay.
I'll second that.
Okay. It's been moved and seconded that we approve this minor partition, MLP 15-04, with the 7 conditions that the Planning Commission has stated. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There you go. Okay. We will move along to I think we had a final decision on the MLP 15-03 Peter Hostetler property. Last time, did we?
Yeah, it was on the agenda, but you never formally made any motion to approve it, so I just stuck it back on again.
Could have sworn that we did. But since we don't have any minutes to corroborate that, I will entertain a motion, because I thought we did. I will entertain a motion to approve the MLP 15-03 minor petition for Mr. Peter Hostetler.
I move that we approve MLP 15-03 as we did conditions for approval from the last meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second that.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve MLP 15-03 for Peter Hostetler. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Done. So our next items of interest and report from the staff, right?
We need to have you
Final
do
decision on the
6B.
Pardon me?
Final.
1504.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, thank you. So final decision on MLP 15-04 Pioneer property. We just discussed.
I move that we accept MLP 15-04.
I'll second that.
Moved and seconded that we approve MLP 15-04 Pioneer property. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Now we will move on to items of interest and the report from staff.
Yeah, we did list on here that we do have another meeting scheduled. We have to put we've advertised, and we need to do the newspaper notice, I think, tomorrow on a request from Premier Gear for their manufacturing facility that's going to be constructed on the bend in Sequoia Parkway where the city previously owned actually still owned, which was the original site of the police building. And so that property is intended to be sold to them if they can gain land use approval for their 60,000 square foot manufacturing facility that they're going to move here from Portland.
Okay. And so we're going to do that on Monday, January 11th,
That's right.
2016. All right.
Other than that, I've been very busy because, especially today, I was the only person in the entire office.
Did you give everybody a vacation day?
Yeah.
That sounds like a personal problem.
Yeah. Well, we're having a lot of people kind of dropping like flies with various illnesses, and poor Dave, our associate planner, fell off of a ladder before he was going to fly off for the holidays, so he didn't get to go. The doctor wouldn't let him fly. So he's actually coming back to work a little earlier than he had planned. So I think I'll see him tomorrow.
Can we have a Laney update, please?
Don't have any update for you other than the fact that she's out of the hospital and at home recuperating.
Okay. Wish her the best. Any items of interest from the Planning Commission? Then I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
Chair, I move that we adjourn this meeting.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned for 2015.
Sounds good.